So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today we are giving this Lambretta style bike a bit of a spin. It is known by two names. If it was grey, it would be known by the Artisan EVC, and if it is red, blue, that's royal blue, navy blue, black or white, it is known by the ThElMoCo Ultra. But they are the same bikes. There's only two minor differences which I will explain as we go along. But anyway, so let's talk about it as the ThElMoCo Ultra. So the bike is actually manufactured by a company called Golden Lion out of Singapore. You might have seen this somewhere on the internet as a J2SA, I think it is, or Sakura. That's some of the names that Golden Lion are giving it. I doubt it's manufactured in Singapore, to be honest. I think it's probably out of China. But anyway, it's 4 kilowatts, 4 kilowatts continuous, and it's also tied up to a 72 volt 40 amp hour battery, LG that is. So subsequently, I was just trying to think of what other bikes we have that have 72 volt 40 amp hour batteries, and I couldn't think of any. Even the things like the TC Max that might have, well, it's got 72 volt, but I'm not sure if it's 40 amp hours. But anyway, so it is quite a chunky battery, and the result of those two things, so a 4 kilowatt continuous motor and a 72 volt battery, is that this bike is high 40s, so 48 to 50 depending on I guess temperature, weight, and stuff like that. As you might get the impression, it does actually pick up quite well. Reminds me of a Supersoco TSX and TC, a little bit sort of twitchy. It's just something you need to get used to, I suppose. It has two modes, L and H, which translate into 1 and 2 on the dashboard. We will be taking it down a faster road later so you can see actually how it performs, but for now we're just basically trying to get through Kingston. So as I said, it is the same bike either as the EVC or the Ultra. A couple of differences: the price. So as the ThElMoCo Ultra, it is 2960, and as a Artisan it is 3152, I think. I guess the difference is that Artisan provide a 3-year breakdown and recovery service as part of that price. On the ThElMoCo side, they provide a data tag in their price. So a data tag, for those of you who don't know, is for recovery. It's a bit like microchipping your dog. So if your bike is recovered, it's got these, they're called rice transponders, and they are placed various parts of the bike, and you sign up to their service. The data tag costs you about 60 quid, I think, and if your bike is recovered, you can prove without any doubt that it is yours. Okay, so that's what the ThElMoCo have chosen to do. Whereas Artisan, as I say, are giving you a 3-year breakdown and recovery. Of course, you can add either to either. You can add a breakdown service to this bike. So really, I guess your choices of choosing one over the other is colour, because that is the only difference. As I said, this sort of cherry red I quite like. And then there's a navy blue, a royal blue, black and a white in the ThElMoCo, and just this storm grey that you might have recognised from the Artisan bikes. Okay. Anyway, so top speed 48 quoted. I have had that out of this bike, so you know it's a real 48. It comes with an 8 amp charger, so the quoted charging time from flat is still a good 6 or 7 hours, but you've got quite a lot of battery there to charge, so that's probably the reason for it. But it is compact, so you can take the charger with you. It's not so big that you can't do that. So from a license perspective, of course, it makes it a 125cc license bike. Okay, so CBT and L plates or higher. As you can see, mode 1 or L gets you to 28. So I think these sort of speeds that you get in various modes are more accidental than by design, but it is sort of like quite a handy speed limit that you've got on mode 1, so that you know that if you're in a 30, you won't actually break the speed limit if you're just poodling around on the low modes. While it's clear, as you can see, the dash is fairly clear. You've got your voltage. It is sort of marketed as a battery level indicator, but it also sort of shows you the draw on the battery as you're going along. It's the closest you're going to get to working out your range is basically divide up the segments into 10 and sort of do an estimation based upon that. Okay, so as we probably said before, being told what the range is the most important thing, but the reality is that there's not a lot of bikes that give you an accurate readout of range anyway. You sort of have to take that with a pinch of salt. Other than to say that, you know, if you were on your last chunk of that 10 bar reading, you know you're sort of riding on the equivalent of fumes on this bike. Okay, so that is something to be aware of. But as you can see, it's very clearly laid out. The dash is very simple to read. Indicators, my favourite topic. Do they make noise? Unfortunately not. But at least you just have to push the button to cancel them. You don't have to muck about with you know, accidentally resetting them to the opposite direction. Okay. So around the dash as well, you have also, like the NIU MGT that we have talked about recently, you have 2 abilities to activate or deactivate the throttle. So down here on the right hand side there is the red sort of kill switch, which will obviously cut the power and hence the throttle, but you've also got that button underneath which activates the throttle as well. So both of those have to be activated for you to actually get the throttle activated. Remember, these bikes are silent. It's a hub motor bike, so no noise. As you can probably tell, there's no noise coming from the bike itself, and we have seen a few occurrences of people who forget that when they stop the bike after a test ride, and subsequently the bike is then lost or sets off on its own because they just forget when they're manoeuvring around and they twist the throttle at the same time as trying to manoeuvre the bike. So it is good to remember to deactivate the throttle as soon as you stop, at least until you get used to it. Okay. Other areas around the front of the bike, you've got a USB port, of course, a little bag hook, and you have an alarm for security, quite a loud one I would say, and you've also got a sort of cover over the key fob. So what you can do is you can actually lock the cover of the key fob. Okay, so that's down here. Okay, so you essentially press the little button that says shut just above where the key goes, and that puts a little cover over the top of the key fob, and then on the key itself you have this bit here which goes into that little hole next to the key, and that opens the key slot. Okay, so I've only ever seen it on bikes out of China, to be honest, so that's sort of why I'm thinking that it is a Chinese bike. So it's, you know, just another little bit of security. Remembering, of course, that if you don't have the battery in while someone can't ride away with it, you also don't have an alarm. So it would be good to do whatever you can to stop people from taking your bike. As you can see, so I'm 6'1". The handlebars are pretty clear of my knees. Part of that is because this bike has got a flat seat. Well, so there's no ridge in it. It gets slightly more tilted the further back it goes. So for the second person, there are foot pegs that pop out for the second person. So you know, it's more than enough room for you to shuffle about to make it comfortable. There are colour-coded top boxes that can come with this bike. So if you wanted a sort of cherry red one, you can. Okay, so that's an accessory that you can add, or you can just take the rack and then add, you know, a shad or something like that. So you can see my feet, and there's still plenty of room behind my foot for a second person to rest their foot if they weren't using the pegs. Okay. You can also get a windscreen for this bike. My phone's going off. We'll just pause for now. Okay, so yeah, you can add a windscreen. When it comes to sort of brakes and sort of stuff like that, so it's disc brakes front and back, which you would expect. They're 12-inch wheels on this bike, so you know, not the smallest. The smallest would be on something like an NIU MQI Plus Sport. Obviously not the biggest, because you can get up to 17-inch wheels now on some of the mopeds that are coming along. It weighs 83 kilos in its starting weight, and it's got an all-up maximum carrying capacity of 253 kilos. Okay, so more than enough to carry 2 people. Or, you know, delivery tasks or whatever, if that's what you wanted to do. And it's got only one big battery, not 2 little ones. Under the seat, no real room under the seat other than the battery. You will get the charger, should get the charger in underneath it. So at least you can take that with you. There's also, just underneath the bag hook, there's another little cubby hole for you to store things. Okay, so and it's good that they've put the USB port on the outside, so you can actually you know, have a cable running from there to a phone if you wanted to mount the phone on your mirror peg. Okay, the way it rides, as I said, it's quite responsive, let's put it that way. If I start off and I literally just twist the throttle, there is a sort of jerkiness about it, but it's not uncommon with hub motorbikes. They do that because it's direct power. You know, you're taking 72 volts and throwing it at a 4 kilowatt motor, so you know, you are going to see that, and you do see that on other bikes too, as I said. So it is something to get used to. We'll be coming up to a faster bit of road shortly, and we'll show you, you know, cruising at its maximum speed. So, you know, that should help you. Okay. There's probably not a lot else to say about it at this stage, other than the fact that, you know, for less than £3,000, you're getting a 40 to 50 mile range, a good high 48s. Some of these bikes, you know, when you get to sort of 40, 45, you do see that they are at the top of their limit. It is like an all-out, flat-out speed, but as I'll show you in a minute, you don't really get that with this bike. And that's a function of its motor being 4 kilowatts and it having a decent 72 volt battery. Okay, so that is something to its advantage. And there aren't many other bikes that are around 3,000 pounds that give you this speed, and there's none really in this sort of style. The closest equivalent or competitive product would be something like an NIU NQI GTS, but the styling is totally different. It would give you lots more range on the New, but that is what New is known for. But the Robo S, that is a 50 mile an hour bike. That's 3,200. As you can see here, I'm now just accelerating up to 40. So it picks up really well. But I'll do this properly on the way back. So we'll come back in a minute. Okay, so as I said, we'll now take this down a junction or two of the A3, just to see how comfortable it is at full speed. Okay, so yeah, 4 kilowatts is just under 6 horsepower, so 5.5 horsepower. The petrol people will say, oh, that's not a lot, but in electric you use probably 70–80% of the energy that you're producing, whereas in petrol you waste about that much with heat and noise and all that other stuff. So consequently, even if you're getting 70% of your power here, you're still getting a good 4 horsepower of actual usable energy. So that is something that you should consider. Okay, so yeah, this bike is quoted at doing high 40s, and we're cruising along here 46, sort of no issues. What you do notice with this bike, and it is the same on the EVC, is what happens to this voltmeter. So as you can see there, I've used up 2 chunks of my battery. Okay, but when I accelerate, you see the voltage go down quite substantially, so 68 volts now, and if I let off, it will recover back to 72. So what you're using to help you determine range is also telling you how much energy is being drawn while you're using the bike. Whether that's helpful or not, I don't know. But what you'll notice is, obviously the further you go, the less it's going to go back up. Okay, and what happens is, if you see it go into the red, then you are basically saying also that you are sort of maxing out the ability of the bike to deliver what it has to deliver. Okay, so it is serving this dual purpose, but you know, at the moment I'm cruising along at 45 and it's saying 69 amps, and you can see it's dropped down again one other chunk, but when I get off of here and go back to normal sort of speeds, you'll see it go back up again, but not as far as the top. Okay, but yeah, no issues with cruising along. Some of the other bikes that do 45, they do feel like, you know, you're struggling to get there, but that's really just a function again of their batteries and the controller, obviously the motor as well. But if you took a like for like 4 kilowatt bike and you gave it a 60 volt battery versus a 72 volt, you would notice a difference. It's purely a function of what the battery is giving you. Okay, so you can see now I'm sort of freewheeling now, and it's gone back up to 71 and up to 7/10 of my charge. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some indication of how to read this stuff. Okay, so that's probably it. I mean, in summary, it's you know, for under £3,000 for the ThElMoCo Ultra version, and £3,100 for the Artisan EVC version. As I said, the main differences are colour. If you want the grey, then it's Artisan. If you want any of the other colours, including this red, 2 shades of blue, a black and a white, then it's the ThElMoCo. The only other difference will be that the Artisan has 3-year breakdown cover included, which you could add to this bike, and this bike has got a data tag which you could add to the other one. Okay, so hopefully that's told you everything, and in combination with our other static review that we've got on our YouTube channel, please feel free to view that and to subscribe to get any other reviews that we're going to be doing. And if you want to do a test ride of this or any of the other bikes that we have, then please feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com, and thanks very much.